Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Trending, the Pittsburgh Steelers have their first-round pick receiving reps at a surprising position. The Pittsburgh Steelers entered the 2023 season with a competition for the starting LT position between Dan Moore Jr. and Broderick Jones, while Chukwuma Okorafor held onto the starting RT position. Moore ended up winning, and Jones served as the swing tackle. Jones ended up taking over as the starting RT in Week 9 and started the rest of the season there because the Steelers benched Chucks for criticizing the play calling in Week 8. He had 29 pressures, 20 hurries, 5 hits, 4 sacks allowed, and a 60.7 PFF grade. The Steelers released Chucks and drafted an offensive tackle in the first round who played LT in college. We didn't know if they were going to leave Jones at RT since they drafted an LT. They appear to have a plan set in place. According to Brooke Pryor of ESPN, Troy Fautanu, who played at LT in college, switched positions this offseason and received reps at RT during camp. Fautanu has already impressed their offensive line coach, Pat Meyer. Troy's learned a lot of the different techniques very quickly, offensive line coach Pat Meyer said. The first couple days his timing was off because the speed of the game is different. Now we don't have any pads on yet, so nothing's going to be determined until we get into camp, but his timing's much better in terms of his get-off and run game and his sets and throwing his hands and being aggressive with his hands and whatnot. He's improved tremendously from rookie minicamp to now. Fautanu isn't the only tackle switching positions this offseason. Dan Moore Jr. also switched positions, converting from LT to RT. Moore has started 49 games and logged over 3,000 snaps at LT throughout his NFL career. He has struggled at LT and also switched positions. He will compete against Fautanu for the starting RT job. 3 Steelers who are showing signs of life under Arthur Smith. The Steelers' offense has been dreadful for the last few seasons, and calling it dreadful may not even do it justice. They haven't finished inside the top 20 in yards or points since 2020, and they have been one of if not the worst passing teams over the past 2 seasons. The mid-season firing of offensive coordinator Matt Canada was the first step towards fixing the offense, but many fans were not impressed with who was hired to fill his shoes. Arthur Smith now runs the offense after a failed stint as the Atlanta Falcons head coach. Smith's offenses in Atlanta were not significantly better than what Pittsburgh's were over that same 3-year span, but his time as the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator was much more successful. There are a few players who are already showing out this offseason in his offense who had lackluster seasons in 2023, and perhaps under Smith, they can show signs of life in 2024. Russell Wilson's NFL career has taken a sharp downturn since leaving Seattle back in 2022. His 2 years with the Denver Broncos were easily the worst of his career, so much so that the Broncos cut him despite there being over $200 million left on his contract. His inability to attack the middle of the field and handle pressure has been exposed now that he has gotten older. He used to be able to escape pressure and move out of the pocket to make plays when he was more athletic, but now that he isn't quite as quick he needs to adjust to stay productive. Arthur Smith had already helped a veteran QB find himself after a failed stint elsewhere when he turned Ryan Tannehill into an above-average starter in Tennessee. Tannehill's skill set was a better fit for Smith's offense, but so far this summer Wilson has impressed in practice and seems to be comfortable with the offense. Smith does require his QBs to be able to attack the middle of the field, something Wilson has never done. If Wilson wants to prolong his career, he will have to make it work this year in Pittsburgh. With the departure of Deontay Johnson and Allen Robinson, the Steelers have 136 targets to replace in the receiving corps. One player that the team is hoping to finally show the ability to handle a full workload is Calvin Austin LLL. Austin's first 2 seasons in the NFL have been marred by injury and ineffectiveness, with just 28 total touches for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. Matt Canada's lack of creativity is partially to blame, but Austin's small stature, 5 feet 8 inches, 162 pounds, and lack of a defined role didn't do him any favors. During minicamp this summer, however, Austin has received nothing but praise from the Steelers' coaching staff. Something I think that gets forgotten with Austin is how dominant he was in college, playing on the outside for Memphis. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons while playing over 80% of his snaps out wide, despite his lack of size, and I believe he could survive there in the NFL if he is kept off the ball where corners can't press him at the line. Maybe Arthur Smith is the guy to unlock him. Steelers get latest update on Brandon Aiyuk. The Pittsburgh Steelers are simply watching the roller coaster ride of Brandon Aiyuk and the San Francisco 49ers, where every day, there seems to be a new turn. Following the latest reports that the two sides had a good meeting, expectations of a trade are low, and one NFL insider made them lower. Speaking on Rothman and Ice, ESPN's Adam Schefter tossed cold water on the idea that Aiyuk is going to end up elsewhere before the start of the 2024 NFL season. Instead, whether a contract extension gets done or not, he expects the second-team All-Pro receiver to be with the 49ers. "I would expect that he's in a Niners uniform," Schefter said. "The question is it going to be beyond this year? He under contract to them, and why would a Super Bowl contending team trade a starting wide receiver for a future draft pick? Not gonna do that. That doesn't do anything to help you win a Super Bowl this year. I don't expect they're trading him. That's not what I'm expecting right now. Whether they can get a contract worked out or not, that's a different issue. They've been talking, doesn't seem like they're close right now, those things can heat up pretty quickly." Not to double down on the cold water, but Schefter's expectation that Aiyuk isn't going to be moved doesn't necessarily add up to everything that has happened. While some have remained consistent that a move will not go down, one report claimed the Steelers and 49ers had something locked in during the NFL draft, nearly finalizing a move for the wideout. Aiyuk is entering the final year of his deal and could be a candidate to hold out if an extension isn't signed. If that's the case, San Francisco may be left with no other logical option than to move on via a trade. The Steelers and Washington Commanders appear to be the front-runners for a move, which could go down later in the offseason. That being said, it would be against everything Schefter believes is going to happen with the situation. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Brandon Aiyuk? Leave your opinion in the comments.